point number one of healing. Like, bring it to the light. Once you're aware of it, bring it to the light. How? By speaking of it, by writing it, journaling, sitting with yourself and see how that feels in your body now that you know this about your ancestors, about your lineages, knowing that you're doing the work, that you're not just letting, something just beat you up and then you just get up every time and you have no idea why you are in the same hole.
Today's Into Healing guest is India Mayorga, an artist, activist, and ceremonialist of cacao and psilocybin who guides transformational journeys that foster deep ancestral healing and connections with the self and the universe. This is Into Healing, and I'm your host, Mira Kaddoura. If you enjoy this conversation, please like, subscribe, and share it with a friend. And don't forget to sign up for our bi-weekly newsletter, intohealing.com/newsletter, for one book recommendation, one quote, and one daily practice delivered straight to your inbox. Hi, India.
Hola.
It makes me so happy to have you here with me. It warms my heart. So I'm just so grateful that you're here with us today.
Thank you so much for the invitation. And I look forward to our conversation and see where this is going, where it's going to take us. So thank you so much. Yeah.
Of course. Maybe we can start by you just kind of telling us about your heritage and about where you're from.
So I was born in a small, tiny country that we now know as Costa Rica. And my heritage from my mother's lineage comes from the matriarchy Indigenous people of the Quebec and Brewery. They're the original people of what we know as Costa Rica today. And my father is from Northern Ireland. He comes from a Celtic Scottish background. And the first one in his family to leave Ireland and to travel and come to Costa Rica. So those are my two ancestors, if you may, my two lineages, my two heritage.
Can you tell us a little bit about how your healing path started?
It started when I was coming back from living actually here in the United States for a couple of years. And I was deep into alcoholism and deep into drug abuse. And I was losing myself. I was losing myself very, very deep and very, very quick. It was very different pace than in Costa Rica. So to live here in the States just switched everything for me. And I was trying to catch up with society, with how you were supposed to be and what you were supposed to represent in society. And it was just too fast for me. And I didn't cope with it well. And I just went through the wrong sort of stream of losing who I was, my identity, my value, my love for myself. I just became so lost in this world. And that put me on the path of healing, because I then remember calling my parents, even though I was already an adult, and said, I need help and I need to go back home and I need to start healing because I'm in a place where I don't even recognize who I am. Like, I just became this woman that I look at myself in the mirror and I don't even know who I am. And I'm alone. I feel sad. I don't love me. Please, like, can I come back home? You know, I need home right now. So that set me off into a healing path of first clearing all of my addictions, which came through being in nature. So picking up on surfing. That was a sport that really got me into healing, because then I had to really be in my body, in my breath, in my attunement to the nature, to the waves when they were coming. I had to be very present.
I love
so that sent me into a path of just getting to know a little bit more of who I was. So it's been a gradual path.
Yeah, the ultimate healer, huh? Nature.
Yes. She knows best. She's seen it all. She's gone through so much. And she's called the Great Mother for a reason.
Yeah, for sure. So when you started on this healing path, what did you start to uncover?
I think the first thing is that I truly didn't know who I was. And so that question took me to really pay attention to my body, because the first question was then, well, who am I? Well, I'm this thing, apparently this consciousness that is residing, and everybody calls me this name. And I know that's not it. And I know that right now I'm in this body. This is what I can see. And I wake up and I'm in this body, and I go to sleep and I'm in this body. So then I knew that there was an importance to the body. So one of the first steps through healing my body was the recognition to love my body the way it was. And that was through taking care of the wholeness of my body. And so, yeah, I think that recognition of loving myself, being comfortable, It's okay. I have black hair. It's okay. I'm this color. It's okay. My heritage is this. It's fine. Okay, like now I can own it.
Yeah.
This is me. This is who I am right here, right now.
Yeah.
And once I felt that, and once I became whole with who I was, then I was able to go to the next step of healing. Because like I said, it's stages for me. It's been a stages for me.
Yeah. So what is ancestral healing, and why is it so important?
What I found is that the more that I ask questions about my ancestors, the more that I discover their journey, the more that I realize all the things that they went through, the more that I can tap into the patterns of my life. Alcoholism, for example. Like, how come nobody told me that my family was an alcohol, like abuse family? Why did nobody say that to me? And so that brought healing, because then I knew that I was going to be the one to break that pattern, because I brought it to the light. And I said, no, I'm not ashamed of it. Yes, I was an alcoholic, but guess what? I inherited it. It's in my blood. It runs through my family lineage. It's something that I inherited unconsciously. And then when that moment of my not knowing who I was, guess who I'm going to turn to? To this spirit of alcohol that my whole family has been worshiping for the past centuries. And that brings healing. So that's why it's so important to know your ancestors, to tap into your lineages, to tap into the lands that you come from, and what has happened in your immediate father or mother, and then, go from there all the way, and also in your community, your collective energy of people that share the same bond through the lands, through the cosmovision, the belief system, because that does play a role into who you are consciously and unconsciously. So that's how I got involved into ancestral healing. It was through finding out who I was and who my family was. And then through those investigative moments, I was able to see the patterns of the things that I was adopting from elsewhere. And they truly didn't belong to me. It was sort of like something that I just carry with, and just came in this bag of life and just like, yep, that's just part of me. And it's like, no, it doesn't have to be.
So do you think that's where lies the power, is being able to know of it and then release it?
Yes. It's that phrase that says, if you want to bring light to the world, then take the candle from down the table where it's hidden in the darkness and bring it out. Because then when the light is out, then there's no more darkness. It can't. It's impossible. But if I have it hidden underneath the table, my descendants won't know. Nobody will know. And it will keep on going through generation and generation. So yes, you have to bring it out, because when you bring it to the light, that's it. That itself brings healing. It brings uncomfortability. It brings emotional release. It brings somatic release. It brings so many things up to the surface that were hidden for so many years, that you're finally in the path of healing. So yeah, it's I guess point number one of healing. Like, bring it to the light. Once you're aware of it, bring it to the light. How? By speaking of it, by writing it, journaling, sitting with yourself and see how that feels in your body now that you know this about your ancestors, about your lineages. And then you become a child. And then you let life show you. And then you become part of this whole beautiful unfolding of uncertainty that is life. But knowing that you're doing the work. that you're not just letting, something just beat you up and then you just get up every time. You have no idea why you are in the same hole. Because that's what happens. Sometimes we're in the same hole because we don't know. And it's very hard to get us out of that hole. We need our ancestors. We need the good ancestors to come and help us. And they're waiting for us. They truly are waiting for us. Yes.
So your father recently passed. I'm sorry. How has that affected your healing?
With the healing journey of death, of somebody who's so strong in my beingness, half of me comes from my father. I wanted to honor his path. I wanted to honor his journey. And I wanted to understand, what was he coming from? What was his story? What was his background? And see him from a different perspective so that I can come to find the beauty in his decisions, in his actions, in his non-actions, and forgive him, forgive myself for not understanding it earlier, for not apologizing earlier, for not saying the words that I wanted to say earlier, perhaps. So the healing started with me asking more in-depth questions about my father and where he came from. Why did he show up in Costa Rica? Why did he marry my mother? To really sort of lay the cards in front of me of this character of my father and what he came to show me along the journey of life. So when I'm sitting there and I'm looking at all the pictures that are being presented of my father since he was a child, and, pictures I probably haven't even seen for ages, it takes me into this journey of remembrance, of remembering his journey, acknowledging his struggles. He was born in a country that was going through division, of religion division, the Protestants and the Catholics. There was a lot of dogma, religious dogma. My grandparents were very strict with him when it came to religion, so he was very confined. He had to follow the rules. He had to not listen to a specific type of music and listen to this. So very, very strict. And just remembering his story then allowed me to heal a lot of the things that I was resentful for, that I didn't get to sort of close with him. And one of the beautiful things that my father left me was this curiosity about our ancestors of the Celtic tradition, because he didn't know anything about it. He was also a colonized country that was robbed from that, and all of their beautiful teachings of nature, of the green man, of the fairies, of the Celts, wisdom keepers. They were also robbed from that, and also it was punished, through death and burned and cutting their heads off. So they've gone through a lot. And so when I'm starting to ask about my father's lineage through books, through researching, through going back to the lands of Ireland, going back to the lands of Scotland, then all of this information that lays upon Mother Earth is there, and you can tap into it. Through the journey of going to Scotland, I opened this new possibility of magic, of connecting to big elemental energies there. You can feel them when you go to Scotland. I don't know if you've ever been. Such a beautiful, beautiful place. And you can really feel the ancestors there. Like, I feel the elementals in Costa Rica through the different points, but the old lands, they have something very, very impressive out there. And I was able to then go into time, into space, into the rituals, into the ceremonies, learn about the songs, learn about the bards and about the different tools that they use. So that connects me to where my father is coming from. Because even though he didn't live that life, he does come from those ancestors. So I can choose to either follow the same story that he opted to or he embodied, came out of World War II. Is the time, the wars are ending. Is the time of like scarcity. Things are limited. You got to fight for what's yours. You got to push through. Like you have to be very, very like in that mindset. He came out of that. So I can adopt that, which I did for the first years of my life in adulthood. Or I could tap into the other one, which is the magic, the unfolding, the relationship with the elementals, the other dimensional beings that we dare to speak about, And I rather tap into that because that is very similar to my mother's Indigenous cosmovision. So now I get like, okay, I can now see the connection. I can see that how we're all connected. And then I know then who I am. I'm not my father, I'm not my mother, really. Yes, I have their DNA, the physical attributes, but I'm much more greater than that. I'm a spiritual being inhabiting this body. And my spirit has been living through my ancestors for eons. And they've also come from outside of this plane. And so then imagine the power that I feel pulling all this wisdom than if I would have just sit with poor old me and not knowing, not asking, very limited, very constrictive, very indoctrinated into the system of religion or school or, just cookie cutter kind of thing.
Well, maybe even more than that. Also, before when we were talking, you said something about like the colonizer mindset. You're choosing a different path,
Yeah, that was, so I was telling you earlier that when my father passed away, in my digging into the background, I'm like, well, hold on, how did father arrive to Costa Rica? What was the job that he had when he came here? Oh, he was working for the British company. Well, what was the British company doing then? And so I had this aha moment with my sister. I'm like, our dad comes from a colonizer mindset. Our dad was actually a narcissist. Oh my God. Our father actually had traits of being a person that belittle people of color. He was a classist. Like, how come we didn't notice this before? And then I looked at my early years and I'm like, oh my God, I was actually like him. I was actually carrying the traits of my father. So by inquiring the things that he did, the people he was associated with, the companies that he ran, his belief systems, his speech, all of these traits of this ancestry, of dominant, of taking, of I can and I will take. It doesn't matter. I'm better. This white supremacy kind of thing, And it was really confronting for me because I'm like, look at myself. How did I have a father like this and marry a mother that is indigenous? Where's the joke on this? Spirit, guide, where's the joke on this? Why am I born into this then? Why do I inherit a father that, yes, he's also been colonized. The ancestors were colonized, but he opted to take the traits of the colonized mindset, of the white supremacy mindset. And he carried that. And he was seeding that in our consciousness. Perhaps he didn't know. I don't think he knew. I think he just wanted a better future for us. And that's all he knew to take, to do. And whereas, the other side, I then am able to see the relationship with my mother and then her simple life, her way of growing, her culture, the love for nature, the love for the land, the protection for the land, the activism in her, in the family. So then I keep asking the question, and why was I born in this relationship? Why did I choose, because I do believe I chose, to have this father and this mother so that I can incarnate? What is then my purpose? And like I said, it's like a never-ending journey, this healing path I don't think that we ever get to complete and say, yes, I achieved all wisdom and all healing. I truly believe that we continue, if not to heal for ourselves, for our ancestors, for our family, for our collective, for our humankind, for nature. There's so much for us to heal. So much for us to heal. And when I say ancestors, I not only mean our blood lineages. I want to make that clear. For me, ancestors is everything. It's our relationship with the trees, with the rocks, with the river, with the sky, with the beings that we can't even fathom to see in this 3D reality. We are all connected to it. All stories point to that direction. All of my ancestors' stories, well, from my father and my mother, speak of that. And then other lineages speak of that. And so when you ask me what's my purpose, I'm like, well, I know that I'm here to be a voice for the ones that cannot speak. That's nature. She cannot speak. So if she's asked me to speak, I will speak. I've already made that commitment to her, and I said I'll channel and speak on your behalf anytime that you ask me to. I will remain as clear as I can on my temple so that I can be that crystal. Also, in these recent years, I've noticed that through the digging of my ancestral roots of my mothers, I was also becoming a voice for the women, and I didn't realize that. That was part, and is still part of my purpose. To let them know that they can speak. And it's okay that we speak as women, as Indigenous women, but as women, period. There's been so much suppression, so much of that patriarchy mindset of just belittling women in our own community. And till today, I'm just astonished. And then I see it in my own business life as well, how I've belittled myself when men of power sort of stood their ground and, became this toxic masculine. And I've belittled myself because of the ancestral wounds that I have. So I just better, be quiet and just stay put. And I didn't know where that was coming from. I still have episodes where there's something that comes up by a person of that's Caucasian white, and it triggers something in me, and my throat gets choked up, and I'm like,
Throat chakra, yeah.
and I'm like, what? And then like I'm going through a somatic release, and I'm like, what is going on? Like I'm releasing something that is not even mine.
No, yeah.
But it's old, and they're helping me trigger this so that I can release it. So speaking
That's very real.
Yes.
Yeah,
especially now. There's so many things that are triggering us left and right with what's going on in the world. I think that we're in a place in humanity where we have to take a stand for what we truly believe. And we can no longer be afraid that we're going to get murdered or burned or choked up or hurt or raped or punished. Like, no, no more. These are the times that we have to stand up and that we have to speak about what really makes us humans. This respect of human kin, of seeing each other like truly in our eyes and saying, you know what? I see you. And I have no idea what you've been going through. I have no idea who your mother and father is. I have no idea what they've gone through. And I see you and I honor you. And this moment is special. Once in a life moment. If we can start getting our heads into that frequency, into that mentality, then more healing is going to happen for more and more children to come into this earth where they see the earth that we want, the planet that we want. So, yeah, part of my purpose is definitely in the women to speak up because they're still suppressed inside our Indigenous community, very much so. I've been in positions where I've been suppressed as well, but I can get away with it because I'm half also from my father's lineage, so I can get that spunk out and be like, no, I'm gonna speak. But it's been a journey of working with my throat chakra. a long journey. And I'm still, like I said, still like having the courage to speak more and more. And
I identify with that very much.
With the throat. Yeah, so I would ask that. Where does it come from?
Ancestral, for sure.
And what happened to your ancestors? Who were your ancestors? And then when you tap in and you just ask that question, in the silence of your room, with a candle, a tea, just, why? Why is my throat like this? Good ancestors, why? Who? What happened? And then you'll get information through this ancestral field that you're tapping into. Because they're waiting. They're literally just waiting for us to have a conversation with them. And then you'll recognize why. Okay, yes. Or maybe it throws you to a book or to a person. And then you follow that trail and then you're like, okay, it comes from there. And then when you speak it, when you bring it to light, the more it will be released. And then the more that you're going to have the power to
speak.
So it's not that easy.
No, at all.
So thank you for speaking.
Yeah, I mean, sharing our truths is very hard. You know, especially for people who come from ancestry that's been colonized or suppressed or oppressed, or of course, because speaking meant death. Right? Yep.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was able to tap into this subject with my sister. She's white percentage, so she took after my father's heritage, like the blue eyes and the blonde and everything else. And she also had a throat issue. She's now a somatic coach and a song vocalist and uses her voice. But she had her tonsils removed. And like, you know, she'd gone through like a very physical aspect of her throat. And because we didn't have the tools, because we didn't ask the questions, she had to go through the surgery. And this is now a present thing in her life. So yes, if we would have asked those questions, had those conversations before, then we could have been like, okay, yeah, you were choked, you know, as a witch back in the day. So that's probably where your throat is having that reaction, because you're speaking your truth. So let's honor that. Let's honor the ancestors that went through that, so that we could speak today, so that we can come clear our truth. And through exercises, through these practices of releasing somatically, then you're able to tap into the power that you already know you have, because otherwise it wouldn't be showing up. Anybody who's having throat issues, I'm like, well, you're supposed to be speaking then. And to get you from this point to that point is a whole journey of itself. But that awareness and then asking the questions, the more it's going to be not easy, but it will empower you, because you know the difficulties that your ancestors went through. And today we don't have to face that same reality. We have an upper hand, if you may. We're in a better situation today. At least our heads won't get cut off. I hope not. If we're speaking truth. And that's powerful. That's powerful. And I feel like your ancestors always come to your aid as well, because they're encouraging you. Yes, come on, go. I've had moments where my voice just trembles, you know. And then I have to ask for help. And then it just boom. And I'm like, okay, that was not me. That had some assistance here.
I've had, speech to write or whatever. And then it's like I sit down in 5 minutes and it's done. And I'm like, that was not me. That was something being channeled much more powerful than I am. How did that get written in 5 minutes?
Yeah, and we've forgotten all these practices. This was so common in our ancestors, to sit in a village, to know the trades. In the Quebecer Bree Cosmovision, we have different clans. They all get passed through the matriarchy lineage. Each clan has a name. My clan is called Munuriwak, which translates to from the ashes. The river of from the ashes, so turning ashes into something new, burning something into something new. So fertile ground, you burn ground to make something new grow. So that's the clan. And each clan then had their own description based on a river that you come from. So each clan is according to the river that you come from. Very similar to Celtic tradition. So, my father was Calderwood, so he was from the alderwood tree, so it was the alder tree. So then you study that tree to understand a little bit of what the gifts are that were gifted to that clan. And so through the path of recovering all these ancestral wisdom, you were able to tap into gifts that were given to you by your ancestors, and you can claim them. They're your inheritance. They're waiting for you to be reclaimed. So imagine the power. There's so much power. So yeah, through the colorful display of my mother's lineage, I was able to tap into a very palpable way that our ancestors have gone through rites of passages, ceremonials, community together to bring community to know your gifts, community for healing as a community, things that we've lost. You're able to sit with the elders, you're able to sit with the medicine man, you're able to sit with the cacao ladies, you're able to sit with different things that are still going till today, perhaps very distilled to what it was before, but you're still able to pull a lot of information that is real, that is palpable. And what I found is that once upon a time, we lived in a village where there was one main chief, if you may. And that chief had 100 people, 120, and these are all relatives, very close to each other, and all living in proximity, very close to each other, sharing resources, sharing the taking care of the children. The elders would take care of. It was just a very beautiful relationship of all families, all relatives together. Yeah, maybe you come in as a colonizer and you're like, oh, savages, living in this way, and one fire and everybody in a hammock or in a floor. But this was real. It was community. It was relationship. It was true unity. And the first thing that they did was
separate.
Yeah, to destroy that. They actually told our indigenous communities, which I'm sure it replicates across the globe, that it was not right for your immediate family to be so close to another immediate family and to be naked. That's just not appropriate, and all these rules and regulations started coming in for our ancestors to feel ashamed. And then shame started to come through. And all this indoctrination that slowly but surely started separating the families. You go now into our lands, and I say ours just because, just to refer it, but there's nobody's lands. It belongs to Mother Earth. But you go back to the territory, and now you don't see families living like that. Everybody's in their own house. Everybody's asking for government's help to have their own little casita. The grandparents can't really come and play with children or children with them because they're so separate in the vicinities. You have to actually travel far distances to have that. So all of that cosmovision that's endured so many years, it was broken. And not too far ago. It was broken in the 1700s, 1800s. So it's very recently. But the damage that is done in 300 years, the new children are coming into this world with this consciousness of separation, of lack of identity, of not knowing who they are. Whereas before, everybody knew what clan, who you were in society, what your role were. When you were a teenager, you go through a rite of passage, you embody yourself. There's so much wisdom that we were stealed from. And I'm sure it goes through all the different cultures.
For sure. When you refer to things as a cosmovision, what do you mean about that?
So for me, cosmovision is that agreement that we've made as a collective to guide us through this experience of life. And that encompasses embodiment practices, ritual practices. It embodies the spiritual world, the how we arrived here in this planet, and who we are in this planet. That's a whole cosmovision.
Yeah, so powerful. One thing I wanted to bring up that you mentioned earlier is about, seems like there's all these secrets before you do ancestral work. There's all these things that either you know or don't know are hidden. And once those secrets kind of start to come to life, how there's such a power in that. Can you just speak to that?
Yeah. It's one of those lessons that I learned in my own family constellation, the secrecy of things. Secrets became like a real thing in my family since I was 3 years old. It was something that we're told not to speak on, not to comment on, not to even address it. So I grew up with secrets in my family, and I thought that was normal. And so whenever we would go to family engagements or community engagements or in the school, like we can never talk about it. We can never mention it. If somebody asks, we just ignore it. So secrets became a thing, and I later realized in life that that made me a liar. So I started to lie as a child to cover up things. And I thought that I was fine. I thought it was okay. And it wasn't until later in life, and I can't remember what was the exact episode of the big of a lie that I said that impacted someone else, that I said, well, I thought that was okay. I thought it was okay to lie and just keep it a secret or just not to say things. And I thought that was normal. But when I saw that my actions created something into the other person that was damaging, so then I started asking about these secrets as I became an adult and as I became, part of my own healing journey of discovering self and identity and my purpose. I started asking the tough questions to my family. Well, how come and
like
why?
A child.
Yes, like a child.
Yeah.
Let's go back to because I need to heal this. And I don't know why I have this tendency to be secretive and not let people in. I have a guard and lie. Like I need to break this pattern. And for that, it would help me if you tell me why was it important for us to lie about this? Because I don't see it as a bad thing. And I tell you what it was. I mean, the family secret was that my father married my mother's sister. So we grew up with my aunt thinking that she was my mom when my dad separated my mother. And so it was a secret. We don't tell anyone that that's your aunt, that that's your mother's sister. You just don't tell anyone. And if somebody asks who your mom is, you tell them that that's your mom. You don't talk about your mom. So imagine what that could do to a child of the separation.
Oof.
Family separation to its core. What we're witnessing today in a global aspect of things, separation. And so all these secrets brought so much separation in our family. So much. It divided both of our families. The new family and the old family. It put us like in different, corners. Now we had to compete. It just put us in a very uncomfortable position. So part of my healing journey was pulling all of this from that place and
The secrets that have been festering.
yeah. And I asked my father, and he was not happy about my questions. He was actually very astonished and that I would ask. That I would dare to ask. And, there were tough questions like why and how. Like I just asked questions that I, as a curious child, wanted to know why was it a secret? Because I didn't understand. Why couldn't it just be like, you know what? I fell in love with your mother's sister and I no longer love your mom anymore. And my heart goes to this woman and we want to have a family and we want all of us to be a family. I mean, later in life, through my relationships of different cultures, I learned that this is a common thing inside Indigenous communities for a man to marry various sisters, to keep the family in the same lineage, to keep it together. I'm like, well, my dad didn't know anything about that, but he did play that Indigenous card of marrying the two sisters, very clever. But instead of bringing unity, which is supposed to bring more wealth for the family, because now you have more siblings, and now if one wife dies, then the other one can take care of the family, just brings more unity. Whereas for us, it was just separation and lies and hurt and fight. And so I learned a lot about secrecy. A lot of healing came from that because I had to now tap into my mother as well. Mom, how did you feel? What was your journey like? What happened? I never asked you because I was told never to ask anything. And that brought so much healing for my mom and for I, because then I didn't know all the things that she had to go through.
Yeah, she's been bottling it all up all those years.
She had breast cancer. She suffered breast cancer. And I'm like, of course, Mom, you were angry. And you never expressed your anger. You never even told us that you were angry about it. So it brought a lot of healing for her to be able to speak, for us to be like good friends, best friends now, to have this open relationship, communication. So I'm pretty sure secrets are in all families. It's sort of like this human inheritance of the polarity of the good and the bad, let's say, that we've sort of inherited. And we should be transparent. We ought to learn ways to communicate effectively and have a little bit of trauma-informed language whenever we are going to divulge secrets or ask of secrets or information that may be sensitive to our children. I don't feel like it's right to hide things to our children or lie about it, hoping that you're like safeguarding them, protecting them. Because I'm sure my dad wanted that. He wanted to protect us from whatever. But at the end, it sort of backfired.
Yeah.
So, yeah, secrets should be something that we are able to bring out in family circles, in conversations, to have the courage to ask our parents and not to come in a condemning way, which I did. I made a mistake. I was in my right mind when I sort of did that. I sort of judged my father for that. So coming from a place of understanding, of compassion, of empathy, when asking about those secrets, so that they can come to light and they can bring healing. But we need to bring those out. It's like the whole collective of humanity need to bring all those secrets out. We have not been doing good in our current world. We have hidden a lot of information. Yeah. It hurts a lot of the things that we've done as humankind to each other. And they've been kept secrets for a long time. And it's time that we can bring them out, because I feel that Mother Earth is now asking us to heal. She's asking us to heal because there's a new generation that's coming. And she wants that frequency to go into this other level. So I don't know how that plays out. I don't know if she's morphing into a different, field, and that she's as a whole entity, a whole being. We call her Iridia, other names, Gaia, Pachamama. Everybody has a different name for her. But she is her own entity. She is her own spirit, great mother. And she wants that. And when she wants something, she'll get it. So the question is like, are we willing to participate in this healing process? She's asking us to bring it up to light, to share the things that are difficult, to express our voice, not in a condemning or judging way, but honoring that we have a lot of trauma, ancestral trauma that has been stored, and that we never got to release it. Our children didn't get to release all the wars, the killings.
The wars that are still happening.
That are still happening.
Genocides, wars, all of it. Yeah. So, for people who either cannot go to their ancestral lands, or maybe their parents are no longer alive, or there's something that prevents them from connecting to their ancestry, how do they do this work? Where do they start?
That's a great question. I get this a lot through my network, because there's people that have gone through different phases of this industrial revolution, of now connecting us to different parts of the lands and different cultures. And now sometimes we don't even know who our mother slept with, and who's our father, or we're adopted, or our ancestors. Yeah. What's beautiful about this is that we have to come to the recognition that we are not only a body and a human in this body. If you can heal that part of yourself and honor that you here on a very short time frame to do something beautiful that only you, your unique self, can do, If you can grasp that and say, okay, yeah, no, I'm a human. And right now my name is India and I'm here for a reason and I want to honor that. If you can get that identity in check of that first step, then the next step is to know that you're a spiritual being. If you tap into this consciousness that goes far beyond your body and far beyond you coming into this world through your mother's womb, then you know you have access to unlimited information. Some in the days of today's era call it the Akashic records. Some other will call it the field of ancestral wisdom, the field of the ancestors. The energetic field, if you may. So if you can come to this understanding as well, that I am also spirit, if you truly know that, I mean, where do you go when you go to sleep? What are the dreams like? Where are you? Where's going on? Like if you sit with it, I'm pretty sure every human being in the planet hopefully will tap into their heart and be like, yeah, I'm also a spirit. So if you know this, then you can now embody a practice. And the practice is to sit with yourself, to call upon your good ancestors, to call upon this field that is all around us. That is why so many speak about this animate world in nature. That's why in so many indigenous traditions, they've spoken about our interconnection with the spirit world, with the four-legged, the two-legged, the trees, the rocks, like everything is alive. Everything is animate. We're not separate. They're not separate from us. Something happened in our human evolution that disconnected us from this truth. And if we remember this truth, that we are spirit, and that before this body, we were part of the wholeness of Creator, God, universe, whatever you want to call it, this spark. If you can believe that, then believe that you have access to all of this information. Our human capacity has been distilled for us not to believe of the powers that we have. And we're still in the journey of rediscovering what those powers were. But when I go to sacred science and I see all these sacred, beautiful structures that you just like,
How?
okay, I just don't get it. Who? Why? Where? Even in Costa Rica, there's sacred signs that I just sit there and I'm like, I know these are not my blood ancestors. I know these are not Rican people that built this. I know it. As soon as I sit there, I'm like, yeah, this is somebody before them did this. So again, how much do we not know about this lineage, this ancestral lineage that comes from the original stories of this first bang, of this first sound, of this first word of creation? We believe that everything is connected. If we truly believe that, then you can tap into that information. So your ancestral path begins with you believing that you have access to this. And to honor the powers that you've been given by right, divine right. The moment your heart beats, you have a divine right to tap into all of this. And this is one of the things that we're losing, that we're indoctrinated into forgetting into our powers. So I feel like sitting down with this awareness and having a prayer, a very simple prayer that comes from your heart, that speaks to your ancestors and your good ancestors. So I also want to reference that. There's ancestors and there's good ancestors. I urge for you to tap into good ancestors. And the reason why I said that is because we have ancestors that have done like really bad things. And I don't want to really have any guidance from them, perhaps. I want to tap into the good ancestors, the ones that are still alive. I want to tap into this other animate world of the ancestors of the elementals, the big mountains, the apus, the volcanoes, the trees, the ones that have been here since the beginning of times, that can tell me the story, that can confirm everything to me. And it might be far-fetched. I'll encourage us to become that inner child. I encourage us to revive that child inside of us, and to protect it and hug it and embrace it and say, hey, it's okay. We can go play now. We can go ask. We can go and imagine. We can be creative with this. How would you like to talk to your ancestors? What feels good for you? And let your inner child guide you. You'll be surprised of how much information your inner child has for you and how much he wants you or she wants you to like really tap into this power that you have with your ancestral field or your Akashic records or your whatever it may be. So it's very simple. It takes a lot of courage and a lot of determination and also trust. Trusting yourself. Trusting the power and this divine power that we have.
If you're enjoying the show, one of the best ways you can support us is by tapping those like and subscribe buttons and by leaving a comment or review. And don't forget to share this episode with a friend. Thanks for joining us. So your mother comes from the Kabeka tribe. Can you share what you've learned from being in deep relationship with that part of your family? What wisdom have you learned?
Wisdom, so much. I have learned that we currently live in a lot of trauma. Trauma, like, we've inherited a lot of trauma. Both men and women. I see that there is a couple of elders still that have a lot of wisdom. I've learned patience is key, because in order for you to get this much wisdom through an elder, you spend hours, if not days, with them, sitting with them and listening to so many stories that you become impatient. You're like, okay, when are you going to drop it? When are you going to give me the juice, you know? So I become more and more patient. I become more and more loving to the elders and understanding of their journey as well. I've learned that we hold beautiful medicine of cacao. I didn't know the extent of it when I was little. I remember my mom always having cacao, chocolate. It was always in the house, always cooking, always there, present. We have cacao farms throughout, life. And it wasn't until, the past 6-7 years that I dived into more of the culture and everything that I started learning about the spirit of cacao and the belief of the cosmovision of the spirit of cacao and where she comes from, how did she originate, and what is the importance of cacao for the tribe and how do we use it in ritual manners. And then it brought curiosity because now in the world, cacao medicine is traveling so much around the world. So that wisdom of that spirit of cacao has been gifted to me through sitting with elders and learning from them and hearing the stories and the songs shared. We still speak the language, although there was my generation, my mother's generation, and my mother's mother generation that were cut off from it. Now we're picking it up again. And everybody else, like that was up in the higher realms of the mountains, they still speak it. So I feel like one of the key things is to really honor our elders. I think that I didn't realize how important that was. The wisdom that they have, what they endured. Very strong activists and protectors of Mother Nature. I didn't realize that. But what I've learned is that we're so rich in our cosmovision. That there is an original story that it speaks of all the spirits, of all the layers of creation, of where the animals come from, the meaning of each animal, the meaning of each bird, the meaning of the rivers. There's a meaning for everything, and they have it embedded in their stories. That's why I say you have to be so patient, because you have to sit to be able to grasp the wisdom. And so the elders, they're not being participants of the community as they were before. The council of elders is losing its strength inside our community. Our grandchildren are disrespecting our elders. They don't care if they want to sit around the fire and tell a story because they rather sit on the phone. So I feel like whoever has the opportunity to sit with an elder in their own community, to really take that opportunity. They carry so much wisdom, and they're pillars for the new children that are coming in. So we have to safeguard them, protect them, and honor them. They are going to become our ancestors. They're tapped into so much of experience and knowledge. They are wisdom carriers on their own right. All the wisdom that I've gained through the tools of working with different medicines, or the tools about reciprocity, or the tools about listening to the land, that all has come through sitting with elders. So
beautiful.
I mean, yeah, we have books and we have things, but there's nothing like a real person next to you and sharing.
Yeah. So you're a ceremonialist of cacao. Can you tell us a little bit about its origin and its benefits?
Well, cacao, it's been a medicine that has helped me a lot to open my own heart. So I never thought that I would be one trafficker of love, I call it, of the medicine of love. It was a medicine that allowed me to learn more about our history. So the history of cacao, it's different between the different countries. You find it in Peru, you find it in Mexico, Guatemala, even in Africa, so in Costa Rica as well. So the stories may vary from each of the cultures. For us, the story of cacao is the spirit. It's embodied in a woman form, in a feminine form. And the story says that there was 3 sisters, 4 total, including the cacao, which we call her Tsuru. And at the end of the story, basically what it reminds us of is this pure heart, innocent heart that Tsuru, the spirit of cacao, had with her sisters, with the world, her way of viewing things and being of service, assisting, opening up her heart to the possibilities, the innocence of things. We use the cacao in the culture for whenever a baby is born. There's a ceremony with a tsrutmi, which is a medicine woman for cacao. And there's also a ceremony for whenever somebody gets married. Also, cacao takes part of it. So in our culture, cacao is very present in different stages of one's life, in different celebratory stages. Rites of passages. And the women are the one that work with the cacao. It was embedded for the women to do the work of cacao. So the benefits for me are not only spiritual, but it really, really taps into opening your heart. And I feel like that's very much needed today. It has all the properties of the theobroma medicine, which is, what they say, the food of the gods, which releases all these beautiful chemicals from your brain, and it puts you like in a happy mood, in a good mood. It gives you energy. So it's used a lot for whenever you go into the field and you need something for a journey. Drink cacao, and it gives you the energy that you need. It's good for your blood pressure, to lower your blood pressure. So for anybody that has high blood pressure as well. So it has various physical benefits. For me, it's spiritual at this moment. For me, the reason why you may say that I'm a ceremonialist of cacao is because I do believe life is a ceremony. And I do believe that when we're drinking something together and we're giving honoring to the spirit, we're creating a ceremony. So it could be at a bar drinking like a whiskey and everybody's shooting to that spirit, or it can be sitting down with the cacao and bringing that spirit in, which is a heart-opening medicine. So I like to create and share that medicine with whoever I can. I do believe it's the medicine that can open up our hearts and put us back into that re-indigenization of who we are as human beings, and open this inner child of play and love and trust, and I see you, I feel you, and be okay with the emotions of life. And it's very subtle. The medicine is very subtle. It's not like any other active psychedelic. So it's still a plant master for me, but
gentle.
It's a gentle. She's a nicer one. She takes care of your heart.
What are some other rituals or practices you do or teach others?
Oh, so many. Well, the last one that I was teaching was because of my father's death. So I sort of weave things that are happening to me personally to embody and be able to share with others. So it was a ritual of rage, of anger, of sacred rage. I was so angry at my dad for leaving the way he did, for not doing the things he said he would. I was just so angry. And I just couldn't express my anger I mean, I met you at this gathering when I'm going through my father's death. Imagine, I can't even express my anger in that place. I'm like, in with all these women and children, and I'm just like, but I'm going deep into this anger, and I can't get it out. So then I had to go through my own ritual of releasing this anger. So I've taught that a couple of times now, that I've sort of embodied this in a more recent time, in the past month or so. I've sort of done it myself. And when somebody called me up, I'm like, oh, okay, I can do it right now. Let's release anger, because I feel like everybody should release anger. So I've done rituals to release anger, rituals to be able to connect to your ancestors, inner child. That was one of my first sort of spaces to hold for various beings as holistic therapy. I feel like a lot of us have never really attended to our child. So a lot of the ceremonies or workshops go around speaking to your inner child and honoring the journey of your inner child, and giving space for that to come out and to express what it needs. Yeah, I go deep with the native medicine of Costa Rica, which is also psilocybin. So the rites of passage to work with plant medicine. So what does it mean to hold sacred space? What does it mean to open up a ceremony that can alter your consciousness through plant medicines? How do you integrate? Integration is such a huge part of any healing work that we do. I would say it's the most important part. Yeah, bringing it to light, speaking and releasing, and then all the time after integration, that's key. So how do you integrate? My grandpa used to say, my great grandpa, he used to say, you see the hammock there? And I said, yes. He's like, that's when you get all the wisdom. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, you lay on the hammock and you get all the wisdom. And it took me a while to get what he was saying until I found myself in a hammock and like just integrating life, honoring that moment of being present in the hammock and receiving the information of everything that was around and what I was going through. And it just allowed me to feel like I was in this cocoon mother sort of space, and I'm like, okay, I get it. You can find comfort in a hammock and go through an integration journey. That you don't get caught up with the other circumstances in life, because you are probably hanging in a tree or somewhere in nature with a hammock. So you're now immersed into this integration journey. So any rites of passages that are important for women and men, I would like to guide people into finding who those mentors are. I may not have all the answers. I may not have all the embodiment wisdom for it. And I may know people that are specifically working with that. So for me, is working with the throat has been a big one as well. Clearing the womb has been another one. So anything that I've had to go through in my journey, that I've had to tap into that wisdom to be able to heal through, then that practice became an embodiment, and then it became something that I share with the world.
Yeah, of course.
So
because you've lived it, it's deep in your body, so you're offering from that place.
And it looks so different from everybody. Everybody has their own experience and their own way of metamorphosing this journey. And so when you open up this possibility for another person to go through a rite of passage, not knowing how they're going to react or what's going to come through, I feel it's imperative for us that are doing this healing work to really know ourselves. That's why I say you have to know yourself, to know what you can hold, what space you can hold. Because you don't know what people may have in their minds or in the psyche, and if it could break them. And are you able to hold that space when that breaks? Do you have the tools to be able to calm them, to bring them back into this space and time? Yeah, because there could be very traumatic incidents in one's life that you have no way of knowing, and the person may not tell you. That may take them back to childhood, and it could be an abuse. It could be something very strong that they sort of blocked. So, yeah, in the work, you sort of have to know thyself. I think that's the most important key, because then you know what you're able to hold. And if you're not able to hold that, then who can you come with the community and professionals around you that can hold that space specifically, or guide this person? Oh, well, they're going to need more medical help. So let me send you now to this other person. So to be able to, and willing to know that you can trust community when it comes to a healing path of opening rites of passages or portals for people to experience unconscious, subconscious, and even out of this world experiences with plant medicines. It's such a delicate work. So, but yeah, sacred anger has been a big one in the last couple months. And I'm still like releasing a lot of it. And I actually want to do it with my mother. I'm like, Mom, I guess what? I'm going to come see you. Because I haven't practiced it with her. But she's always up for my little games and my little,
I love that. How special to share that with her too.
Yeah. I feel like her witnessing me on my healing journey allows her to be more open and okay with me bringing things like this. So yeah, I'm in great reverence of this life, and that you get to have a mother and you get to share things like this with your mother. I'm very lucky, very lucky to have this opportunity to call her like a best friend. Yeah.
How can we get better at connecting with nature in our everyday lives?
Breath is part of our nature. Connecting to breath will connect you to your nature. Spending time with a specific tree or place and just giving it more time and energy. So if you have a garden, then keep doing that garden, keep doing that garden. If you have that river, keep going to that river, keep going to that river. And the more that you relate with that specific landscape, the more that the landscape will start allowing yourself to see the animate world behind it. And the more you're going to have a relationship. It's like, I can't have a relationship with you if I don't come and see you, if I sit with you, if I hear you. It's the same with nature. Like you actually have to give your time and energy. And as humans, I think that we have the capacity to tap into that anywhere we are through breath, through presence. So you don't have to be in nature to be connected to nature. Know that you're nature. Know that you're nature. I mean, in our cosmovision, it says that we come from dirt. And from dirt, clay was formed. And then from there, like, humans appear. So we literally come from Mother Earth. There's no way we can't tap into it. And birth is the first thing that we bring when we're coming out of the mama's womb and matrix. It's the first thing that connects us to this whole
universe. Can you tell us about Movimiento Ancestral, the nonprofit you've created?
Movimiento Ancestral was birthed through a dream to be able to bring the wisdom of different carriers of knowledge of different indigenous groups. We're in such an online technological space that we're able to record, but there's nothing more beautiful than to sit with somebody and to grasp the knowledge firsthand. So I feel like that was important. That was the reason why I created this non-for-profit, for people to be in more reciprocity with the cultures that still existed in the landscape that they were in. So in this case, it was Costa Rica, where it started, because I'm based in Costa Rica. And there were so many people that did not know the history of Costa Rica or the ancestors of Costa Rica. The same Costa Rican people do not know. So I said, well, I mean, why? It's right. Like, I have so much information. Let me just share it with you. So that was the reason. And I'm inviting anybody who has knowledge of their ancestral lineage or want to learn more about their ancestral lineage to come and to write us and to let us know that they want to also share knowledge from different parts of the world, whatever lineage it is. Because for me, the more that you study all these cultures, you find the similarity of the same story. And so that is what brings us back into our re-indigenization way of we are human kin. No longer separated by race, color, religion, whatever it is. We have to see ourselves as humans, brothers and sisters, And I feel that when you share these stories and you're like, well, it's all the same. It's like, okay, got it. Perfect. Can we get back to this unity consciousness now?
Yeah, before all the separation and colonization and all that stuff happened, right?
I mean, I feel like that's sort of the joke of life. You come in here knowing you're part of the whole to forget so that you can remember. So it's a beautiful path, and it's like, it's up to you how long is that path going to last, or if you will ever tap into it.
Well, there was a time when people remembered, I think, before the first conquest and before all the separation, that happened. I think people remembered. It's just that, the way it's evolved, it's become more and more and more, separate and divided. It's beautiful that there's a place that you've created that reminds people of their true nature and their connection to each other.
Yeah, I never thought that something as simple as lighting up a fire could bring so many emotions to people that were coming from the outside that never experienced sitting in a fire in a circle, listening to a story, something super simple that for me is common, that I've experienced. Something that simple can be profoundly impactful for someone coming from this modern society, unattached, disconnected with nature,
Because it lights something up in them that remembers, right?
It's the fire is commonly known as the old grandfather. He's like the originator of all wisdom. You want wisdom? You want to tap into your ancestors? Light a fire. Look at the fire. Stare at the fire. All ancient traditions speak about it as a portal to our ancestors. So, yeah, when I had that realization, I'm like, well, okay, well, now they take a little bit of this tool because we created this container of sharing songs and community, all this ancestral wisdom that we forgot, this connection, because of whatever story we've been fed, back into the simplicity of what you feel when you're around a fire with people around. You feel so warm and so whole, and life is so great, and you can release and transformative. So Movimiento Ancestral was birthed for that. Same. It's very parallel to my experience in life. That helped me. I want other people to also tap into the simplicity of wisdom keepers around. And that doesn't mean elders only. It means anybody who holds and embodies wisdom that has been passed through, whether experience or sitting with elders, embodiment practice. But what is that we need to make sure that our children remember that this is important. And yeah, our connection to the natural world it's what's mostly urgent today. Our true nature, our essence.
Yeah, it seems like all 5 elements, whether it's fire or water, all the different elements help us remember in different ways, right? Yeah, like water is a bit more feminine. You're calling the fire the grandfather. Water, helps us also connect to each other, but in different ways.
Yeah, that's a lot of information resides in water. Our human body is about 80% water. Information travels through the rain. Seeds get carried through the birds. Whales nest and have babies in beautiful waters that have heard their songs for millennia. Water is such a conduct of information. And we can tap into that as well. So, yeah, those are the little things, the little things that you never ponder, or you were never exposed to. That through Movimiento Ancestral and different things that we do in life, we can sort of give that little nugget. Like just ask a little bit more about water. Just sit a little bit more with the wind and see what happens. Be this inner child.
Yeah, ask questions. Yeah. Can you share some wisdom that we can incorporate into everyday life?
The most important wisdom of the Indigenous people is gratitude. That's it. That's it. when you wake up and you start your practice with gratitude, you'll feel it. You'll feel your connection. You'll feel your empowerment. You'll feel becoming light and expansive. You start being in gratitude with everything that you have, and then beyond, and then beyond. And you can spend the whole morning just in gratitude. But if you really receive this practice of gratitude, your life will start changing because you're speaking to all the beautiful things that you're already receiving and you have not received yet. But for the sun, for the food, for the kids, for the laughter, for the children, for the health, for the, and if this becomes your practice, you'll see it. Your face transforms, your spirit gets up, people will start being attracted to you. Like, what's going on with you, girl? And you're like, This gratitude practice, to know that there's always something in the background. There's always a reciprocity that she's always given us. The Creator is always given us gratitude. I think that's the most important.
I love that. In Arabic we say alhamdulillah, which is alhamdulillah, which means I'm grateful for everything that comes my way.
Yes.
And it's such a huge part of our culture.
Is it?
Yeah.
You see?
It's like every day, a million times, you're always like, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. No matter, like when somebody asks you how you are, that's what you say back.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, it's like all of this wisdom that we're not practicing. I mean, we don't, people go back to Indigenous people trying to find these answers. And I'm like, okay, the answers are within us. And our Indigenous cultures are also being distorted by the grips and greps of the systematic, ways. So you can't even trust that fully to be able to say, all Indigenous people are wise, all Indigenous people are connected, all Indigenous people are saying. So that's not true. What we have to remember is that we all come from the same source. And that we all have these practices in our own culture. So what is it, in your culture? What is it that you can tap into that re-indigenization of your essence and bring that in? Because how many times have your ancestors said this prayer? I can only imagine.
Yeah.
And when you tap into that, what are you bringing? All this power to your life. So more remembering of these practices that we all have in our own family constellations and cultures. And gratitude, you'll hear it. I bet we hear it in any cosmovision of any Indigenous, whether were the Celts or the Nords or the Vikings or the Greeks or the, I'm pretty sure we'll find gratitude as being the number one thing to give back to.
Yeah, I love that. How do we get better at having a more relationship with the places we go to? So we're not just taking on these extractive or like colonizer ways of being in the world.
Well, you start watching your show by knowing that we're into healing, because it's so important that, and you're right, there's so many people coming to Costa Rica, especially during the world change in 2019, 2020 with this thing, A lot of people were sort of fleeing their countries, coming to Costa Rica because they felt safer or connected to nature more, and they just saw the icky, weary ways of the system in their own countries, and they're like, we don't want to live here. We don't want to raise our families here. So a lot of people moved to Costa Rica, single people, families, a lot. And it created a very hard problem of gentrification for the Costa Ricans, to the point that a lot of the locals were not able to live in the places that they were accustomed to because of all this influx. And I get it, they were finding a place that they can feel safe and have some healing and connection, and we had that in Costa Rica during that time. And the first thing that somebody that's looking to come to a different country, it's first learn about the history of the place. Like, do yourself a favor. Like, do not pretend that you're going to come to a land and impose what you believe is right for the land. I get this a lot with people wanting to go to the Indigenous territory. They have all the solutions for them. They know all the answers. They have all the resources. And I'm like, how can you? You haven't even seen or lived with them. I'm still trying to figure out how I can support my community better. It's also important for our own Costa Rican people to start establishing more ways of communicating with each other so that we can affect policies and regulations and laws in Costa Rica so that this not continue, because we can't afford to think that people from the outside are coming in with good intentions and that they're actually going to look at practices of sensitivity, of cultural recognition, of history recognition, of learning the language, and all these things that you're meant to do, truly, if you want to honor a place where you're landing. And I feel like it's the responsibility of the Costa Ricans to start raising awareness of how do we protect the lands from all this influx of commerce that are coming in, like children, taking, and you can't get punished because you're a child and you don't know. So we have to be the adults and create and be organized and now be part of a political, new way, an activist in a way, to bring laws and regulations that will sort of...
Yeah, it's almost, you need boundaries.
Exacto. And how do you put boundaries in adults that are children? Because that's what is happening. They come for one thing and then they destroy the whole plot of land for this beautiful big house and this green grass and no recognition of the native plants, the native history. There was a cemetery here of the ancestors. Why built on top of it? Why remove the stones? Who are you? Why are you still bringing all this trauma of a colonized patriarchy, white supremacy? Why are you carrying that with you in a country that we have no wars, no, it's pura vida, we're trying to take care of nature here? Why bring all this ickiness that you're escaping from to redo in a country that, we allow it to?
Yeah.
And so I think that, it's, both ends need to be a little bit more participatory in this process. I definitely feel myself becoming more of this activist in a way with my local community to start bringing these conversations because it's becoming an issue.
So important.
That, how are we going to make sure that this is guarded for the future generations? Whether it's Mexico or Bali or the different places that people are finding themselves drawn to because of the beauty of nature, the beauty of simplicity of life, the beauty of the people. It's just very, it's a fallacy. They're creating another thing when they actually want.
They want what this culture offers, but they don't honor it.
Yes. Yeah.
India, is there anything else you feel called to share that you feel we didn't really cover?
Know that you're not alone. It's a very important message for anybody who's listening, that we all come from families that are perhaps not in their best capacity to be parents. That we now have various tools to be able to tap into information like the ones you share in your show. So look for those teachers, look for those practitioners, look for that community. Know that you're not alone and that there's a bigger energy that's moving through Mother Earth right now. And she's calling a lot of us into this field of healing because she's asking for healing. So trust that and honor that wherever you are in the world. Have compassion for your neighbor. That's a big one. It's a hard one. Compassion for yourself and others. And get on board with this healing journey. It's great. It's great. You get to know who you are and you get to know your purpose. What else do you need? Truly. And, all the cries, laughs, giggles, shirts and farts, they're part of the process. It's good. But at least you get to know yourself. You can stand and say, yes, I am this. And I come from this. And this is where I'm heading.
And I'm not afraid.
I'm
in my power. I speak my truth. all of that, right?
And it's so needed. We need a generation of beings that are coming up in this world with that so embodied that our children get the opportunity to live in the world that we're calling forth. So this is not optional, it's a must. We must go through this path of healing. It's imperative if we want to see our future generations have what we dream of. Clean food, clean water, clean resources, free land, unity. We are going to be the ancestors. So, yeah, jump on that wagon. It's a nice one. It's a good one. Trust me, it's a good one. It hurts a little bit, but it's good.
Thank you, India.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So appreciate you.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for coming to my life and bringing me into this path of healing with you. I appreciate it so much. Yay.
If you enjoyed this conversation, please like, subscribe, and share with a friend. You can connect with Into Healing on TikTok and Instagram for more inspirational and behind-the-scenes content, and visit our website, intohealing.com, for transcripts and other goodies. Thank you for joining us.